Hello, everyone. How's it going? I'm here today to rank every single Godzilla film. Yeah, I think I think first okay. Obviously, I have everything in order right now, with the one exception being the Hanna Barbera cartoon. I don't know where that's placed in the timeline, or not timeline, like theatrical. I don't know when that was made, which should pretty evidently tell you guys that I have not seen it. So, I know. Spoilers, right? Anyway, so, original Godzilla movie, S tier. Actually, S tier. Fantastic movie. Everything about it was good. Characters, pretty solid story, pretty solid. Action was brutal rather than cool, but that served the purpose in the narrative, which, made it a more engaging film, and I enjoyed pretty much everything about it. Um, and it's also the most important Godzilla film because it started it all. It gave him his classic theme of Godzilla being allegory for nuclear weapons, and yeah. Next one, Godzilla reigns again. Pretty good, pretty good. Um, I I don't know. It's good. Yeah, nothing bad about it. Nothing really nothing too crazy, obviously. Just a good. Um, I've heard some people talk about how it's like a symbolism of Japan being caught during the beginning of the Cold War between two massive giants that wield nuclear power, and that could be interesting. But I don't really. I haven't. That doesn't really speak loudly to me. But everyone has their own thing, and the fact that you can find that deeper meaning in that is rather engaging, right? Anyway, Godzilla vs Kong, the original, A tier. Why? uh, Obviously, this is probably the second most this is one of the most important Godzilla films, easily. Like this, 54, Destroya. Like there's certain versus Destroya, there's ones that are just way too important to ignore, right? And this is the reason the Monsterverse exists. That's a pretty interesting thing to bring up, right? Next, Godzilla vs Mothra. It's also a good movie, not as good, but decently. I like the symbol for humanity's greed. Like, it has a good message in that, but nothing too crazy. Next one. I enjoy this movie to some extent. Um, I think that uh, it introduces Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, right? And there's nothing about it I would say is too massive of a flaw. The plot is obviously not great, and neither are the human characters, but the monster fighting is enjoyable, and the plot serves as a tool to feed you monster fighting, and that's a common theme throughout all Godzilla films. I know some people don't like that, and some people only care about a story, but it's a visual medium, so visuals, music, they kind of all matter when taking into account how good a film is. But next one. This film is much worse than its predecessor and sequel. I didn't really have that much fun with it. Invasion of Astro Monster, just not my cup of tea. Aliens, there's always some sort of listen, you can't go one Godzilla arc without aliens. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's crazy. Next one, Godzilla vs. Ebirah. Not great. Ebirah's not a good antagonist. He's just not engaging, man. It's not. The plot is kind of cool. I did enjoy the plot, and it does really have the 60s and 70s vibe to it, which is kind of engaging, right? But it doesn't save this film. Next one, Son of Godzilla. I like the final scene where Godzilla or Godzilla and Manila like hug each other to or like Godzilla uses his body as a shield to block Manila from the blizzard. That's pretty wholesome, but um, apart from that, the film's just super mediocre, and the story's not that great. Obviously, this is a product of its time too. The Japanese, I watched them in dub, so the Japanese voice actors being dubbed over in the 60s and 70s. Dubbing was not great, so you can probably guess how that went. But that did add a little bit of fun to it, so yeah. Next one, destroy all monsters. Okay, here's the thing, right? I'm putting this one in C. I think that this is one of the most botched films when it comes to like whatchamacallit, potential. This has like the most engaging idea. Okay, the amount of monsters that we see at the beginning and then are like, we're promised so much and given so little, and if it fully delivered, this honestly might be like an A or even an S tier. If it fully delivered on its concept, oh my goodness, it would. But it failed in that regard. However, it didn't fail in every regard like our next movie, Godzilla's Revenge. My guy, just don't watch it. It's not good. It's not good. It's not good. It's not as bad as like I've seen the reviews about it, but that's obviously like people over exaggerating their opinions to, make more engaging content, which, to be fair, I do that with my friends all the time. I intentionally upgrade, like I intensify my emotions at the time to, basically be like, I hate this about Blake, when in actuality I don't care, right? Anyway, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, very interesting movie. I like the environmental message. That's cool. Apart from that, it's really experimental. Also, the director of this film loves this film and he loves Hedorah. He's also like been banned from making Godzilla films. Not actually, but it's about as close as you can get without straight up having them slap you with the documents to never make a film again. Which, should say something about it. But yeah, the environmental message, not too fleshed out and not too great. Next one, Godzilla vs. Gigan. It's alright. It's nothing too bad. Nothing too crazy. It's just a solid C tier. Godzilla vs. Megalon is worse, but it's a worse movie, but it introduces a new kaiju and it does have some memorable scenes, like those people dancing to summon Megalon. That's kind of cool, and just normal stuff. Anyway, Godzilla against Mecha, or Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Ooh, I think this might be the best in the Showa series. Not actually, because we got these two, but like the later shonen, they kind of peaked with this one, and it was fun. It's a fun movie. The plot, obviously, it's not based on the characters, but just the sheer absurdity of it makes it really fun. And the antagonists actually feel like antagonists, and they do feel like threats. On top of that, dude, the monster fights, these are the best monster fights in the Showa series. 100%. You want to know why? People remember the Showa series? Watch this movie and Terror of Mechagodzilla, which I'm gonna put there in the same category. You watch these two movies and you'll be like, so that's why people watch the Showa series. That and Kong. Because like these three right here, the shonen, like the Showa goodness. This one is Showa goodness, but a little bit, it's trying to be a little bit deeper, which I do appreciate. And then this one, this isn't even the Showa series. No one counts this as a Showa film because every single timeline starts off with this. Every single one. Next one, Hanna-Barbera. Have not seen. Okay, cool. Godzilla 85. Godzilla is a menace to society again. he switched up his roles, and I quite like it for that. It brought Godzilla back to being serious. I don't think that was desperately needed. Well, okay. I'm looking at this as a person who has a mixture of all this, right? A mixture of all the serious and silly and the casual, the compliant, and the compulsive, and the mixture of all the big words, right? And back then, though, when they only had Showa, it was not, they needed this film to take him back to his roots, I feel, and that really helped. Godzilla vs. Biollante, cool monster, interesting monster, not much else to the movie. I'm sorry, I don't like it. Next one, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. I like this one technically more than I like Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, but that one I feel is a bit more. I feel like it's a bit more important, But I personally I like the film more, so I think I'm gonna bump it up a little bit more. Next one, Godzilla vs. Mothra. I like this. The film's okay. I think I remember enjoying it more than Invasion of Astro Monsters. Also, I'm sorry, as you can probably guess, this is not hyper, like, listen, dude, there's over 30 films here. I've seen every single one of them, right? But for a lot of them, I'm going off of memory. And, like, if you do have different opinions on that, you can go into the comments below. I really don't mind. I do love answering questions. You'll look in my comments. I normally explain why I think this if I didn't have time to in a video, or it just slipped my mind. Anyway, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is better than Biollante. More interesting monster fights, more interesting story, and the monster obviously isn't as cool, but I also like the characters a bit more. And the thing about the Heisei Era is the Heisei Era is a era. It's a saga. It's like there's storytelling beats going through. For example, in Godzilla vs. Mothra and Godzilla vs. Biollante, a decent chunk of Godzilla's cells get into space, which then end up creating the opponent for our next combatant, and that is Godzilla against Space Godzilla. And personally, I think I'd like it less than Mothra versus Godzilla. No, you know what? I do like it less than Mothra vs. Godzilla. It's not a terrible film by any means, but it's not the cream of the crop. Anyway, Godzilla vs. Destroya. This is another S tier. And our second one on the list. This film is watching Godzilla slowly die and the planet around him kind of having to adjust to what is going to happen. And then that final shot of Junior, and it really does pull out all the stops, because after this, the series went dormant for another decade. So they made sure that they were going to, make this film feel like a finale. And it feels like the finale to the Heisei saga, with, obviously, the most important character, Godzilla, unfortunately dying in the end. I know, spoilers. But the music, the atmosphere, the tension, because when Godzilla dies, he's going to take the planet with him if they don't do something. All of it wraps together in a good story. Especially if you're watching the Heisei Era or in order. You spend so much time with this Godzilla. You spend so much time with these characters. You truly get attached, and it's truly something cool. Anyway, 98. Okay. I just went on that long tangent. Guess what? Another long tangent. You guys don't get a break, and I don't get a break to breathe. So 98 is either an F tier or an A tier. You're wondering, that's a pretty big jump. Why? Well, how do I explain this? A tier monster movie, F tier Godzilla movie. Okay? I like this film when it's an actual film. I think it's fun. I think it's enjoyable. I think the action is pretty good. And the story serves as a way to pump high intensity scenes into people and create dynamic and cool set pieces and create really cool visual destruction of New York. That's great. All of that is great. But Godzilla sucks in this film. Like, this, everyone, this, we, even if his name isn't actually Zilla in this movie, everyone calls him Zilla. Like, no one has ever in their life called this man Godzilla, because he ain't him. He just ain't him. Like, that's just how it works. And it's a good movie, but I'm not going to give it F tier, because I'm kind of ranking these as films, not just Godzilla, you know? But I gotta be honest, the fact that it's called Godzilla and it doesn't feel like Godzilla kind of does bump it down to B tier. However, we'll talk about another Godzilla that doesn't feel like Godzilla. Actually, a decent chunk of them later. Anyway, Godzilla 90, Godzilla the series. It's actually cool. I love this show. It's fun. It's exciting. Ironically enough, I'm kind of okay with calling this guy Godzilla. Like, that's Zilla right there. He sucks. He, like, roars at some trucks and they, like, explode. This man shoots green fire with his dorsal plates, and he fights a monster every week, and he battles alien invasion. It's fun. It's a fun show. And the characters, pretty fun. And then some of the jokes are funny, obviously, but not every lands. It is a kid's show, but it's a pretty good kid's show. And you know what? I haven't seen any of Hanna-Barbera, but so I know this is biased, but this was the best Godzilla show until recently. Anyway, Godzilla 2000. I love this film. This film has personal attachment to me, and apart from that, I don't think it's S tier. This is the first Godzilla film I watched after 2014. So I saw 2014. I went, oh my goodness, this Godzilla guy is awesome. I love dinosaurs. That's a giant dinosaur that breathes blue fire, which is the cooler fire. And you know what? That's awesome. And then guess what? My parents were like, oh, guess what? We have more Godzilla we can show you. And I'm like, sick. Godzilla. So that movie right after. Also, I watched Godzilla 2000 with my younger cousin, and on my grandparents' big TV in their house. And when I was younger, and he had a good time, and it was cool expressing my passion with a member of my family, right? Because that was back when, like, I wasn't doing this, you know, I was more private about what I liked and why I liked it. So to be able to show someone that and they think it's cool, it was fun. Anyway, Megaguirus is pretty alright. Boom. I like the movie fine. I like dude, the plot gets absurd and I love it. They try to kill Godzilla with a black hole by shooting a black hole down into the earth. Like, okay, genuinely, everyone knows why that's weird. Why would they shoot a black hole down at the earth? And guess what? He survives, and it's awesome. And then he fights Megaguirus, and it's not as awesome, but it's still pretty cool. And that's why it's in C tier. Next one is an S tier film once again. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, giant monsters all at attack. Oh boy, that's... just saying that exhausted me. Oh my goodness. But yeah, mouthful of a name, and the movie's got a lot to say, thankfully. Action set pieces are really good. I love the special effects of this movie. Also, Godzilla being being stylized means that it doesn't feel as dated as it relatively should be. And on top of that, the the allegory of Godzilla being a vengeful spirit created by the people that were attacked at Pearl Harbor is an interesting twist on the character, and while it is different than normal Godzilla, unlike 98, it actually 98 down here, it kind of delivers and fully commits to it. It doesn't feel like it's just using the brand recognition, if that makes sense. It feels more like we want to do something cool and unique with this character, and they succeed in doing that. Next is Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. I like this film. It's not the best Mechagodzilla film, but I love Kiryu. I think Kiryu has a really interesting dynamic with Godzilla, and I like the main character's character arc, and I think she's a good lead, and her story overall is pretty nice. Next is Godzilla vs. Tokyo SOS. My bad, sorry. Sequel, pretty much on the same page. Mothra's there, the Mothra larvae are there. I gotta be honest, I'm not, as you could probably guess, I'm not crazy about the bug, but she doesn't really add much to the film, but she doesn't take away, thankfully. Next one, Godzilla Final Wars. They made Mothra cool in this film. No, but man, I love this movie. This movie, here's the thing, right? It is Godzilla's 50th anniversary film, and he makes sure that every single monster is used in this film. The director wanted this to be high action, low on story. And you know what? The story is pretty generic. Aliens are invading Earth with monsters. We've seen that before in the Godzilla franchise. Obviously, I sum it up, but there's a little bit of twists and turns. There's a little bit of mutants in there. There's a little bit of everything. And guess what? It's good. It is good. I do enjoy it, and I'm just relatively happy that, we got to see something like that. Anyway, next, 2014. Ooh, how hot of a take is this? I need to rewatch this film, because there's something. Here's the thing: the film feels grand, but nah, just no, not enough Godzilla. I hate to be that guy, I like talking about fresh and new points, and here I am bringing up the most generic point of all time about the Godzilla film. More Godzilla. Yeah, that's an actual problem. I agree with the general public about this. Too much, not enough Godzilla. Human characters, they steal the screen, but not in the good way. Like, instead of stealing the screen in the positive light, it's like you're literally getting robbed. You're literally getting robbed. And okay, it's not as horrible as I make it sound, but I just don't care for the human characters. And I know everyone has also said this. Bryan Cranston dying kind of sucks. He really shouldn't have. He should have been a more central plot point. Like, I get what they were going for, Godzilla, and basically Godzilla and the Mutos have taken away everything sacred from this soldier, which gives him reason to fight, so that way he doesn't lose his current family, because he lost his old family from the Titans, so he's fighting the Titans with. But then I also counter back with, okay, maybe he should have been involved with the action a bit more. But, him also blowing up the Mutos eggs was, pretty based. So, next one, Shin Godzilla S tier. It's a good movie. There's nothing around it. Its message is about the incompetence of governments, and how, since they have so many moving pieces, they can sometimes fall apart and not work, especially when you get so many people on so many different wavelengths with so many different ideas. And on top of that, they're really unprepared for any evidence of that. I don't know. You can read the news from the past 4 years. That I feel like that will be a really, really interesting way of finding out how incompetent a government can be, right? But yeah, it's And here's the thing too, it doesn't paint them as malicious. Like it isn't like the government is horrible and we should over like it's not an anarchist film. Hideaki Anno directed this and he did a good job with it, making almost every member of parliament have be relatively sympathetic. So even though you see their incompetency, you don't hate them, right? And that balance is a really hard balance to achieve. So, I want to put it up here because it's just that good of a film. Anyway, how do I talk about this one? Here. Okay. Now, no, that's not true. They're both acceptable films. Why did I put this one above, even though I gotta be honest, City on the Edge of Battle does seem like the better film in most aspects. I don't care. You may be wondering why I said that. Okay, the concept of this film is so unbelievably good. It's so fire. If they delivered, here's the thing. Like, you may have noticed, where is it? This film right here and this film right here have some of the greatest ideas in all of the Godzilla franchise, the entire franchise. Is when it's down to execution, it's not that great. When we first got the summary of this film, I was like, oh my goodness. And it's an anime, so that means there's no restrictions on how crazy it can get. This is going to be an S tier film. I have that S tier. I haven't. I made extra space in the S tier for this film. And it failed me. It failed all of us. It failed everyone. I was mad. I was very mad. I was disappointed in every conceivable way. And you know what? Sometimes that's okay. I can't hate it for not living up to its potential, but then I have to judge it as a regular form. And as a regular film, it's kind of boring. It's not horrible, right? But it's just not as cool. And then these two are down here. They're below one tier because of one simple fact. The idea, concept, and the ooh, what's going to happen next was in this film. The ooh and ah was in the original. And then 2 and 3, while they're just as good, they do not possess the same they are not given the initial advantage that this film was, because I don't have an awe factor with these two films, There's no moment where I'm questioning what's going to happen next, like when I was initially watching these. Anyway, King of the Monsters. Listen, if you like Godzilla... No, that's not true. I've met so many people who don't like this film. I love this film. It's so good. Monster fighting, good. Characters, improvement from 2014. Okay, so you know what? No, let's go over, right? Characters. 2014? Meh. Hey? Oh, they're pretty good. Action. This. Woo. S tier. S tier. The action in this is S tier. I'm not backing down. This is genuinely, this and Godzilla vs. Kong is the best action in the Monsterverse, and some of the best in the franchise. And considering this franchise has better action sometimes than Marvel, that should say something, right? It has a real nice mixture of weight and ferocity to it, along with it's fast. Like, you do feel like Godzilla's moving fast to, fight Ghidorah, but it's not too quick. He doesn't feel like he's about to break 5 different barriers of speed. It doesn't feel like he's about to chase down the Flash, which is really good when you have something that's the size of a building. But yeah, I have so much fun with this movie. And Godzilla vs. Kong, S tier as well. I love the action. I love how Kong is the main character in this film. he is the main character. Watching him rise from, you know, what is a, it's weird how he's not, he's essentially in his same position as he was in the original King Kong. In the scene where, you know, where everyone's watching him and he feels and he's literally chained down to he's literally chained to something so people can look at him and go, wow, that's crazy. This time, instead of being chained down physically, he's trapped in a cage where the world is, not everyone around him who is watching him are watching him with pity and sadness that he can't go outside because Godzilla will literally rock his world, and not in a good way. And it, you know, goes to show that he's weak and he isn't in the best of shape, and so they try to and he has no family, so he naturally attaches himself to the last surviving member of a tribe, which allows him this deeper connection. And watching him slowly rise to become the defender of humanity, not in this film, but combine that with Godzilla X Kong, the Kong rising into the defender of humanity, is really something I truly appreciate. And I love how Kong is the main character. He is the one with the story arc. He is the one the plot revolves around. He is the one, okay, he doesn't set things into motion, but he is like for example, he gets knocked out and put on the boat, right? But here's the thing, he would have escaped the cage anyway if they didn't. So he's not waiting around for stuff to happen. He is making the plot push forward. It's just dependent on whether he gets help from the humans or not. Also, his axe is sick, and all the fighting in this film, oh my goodness, the fights in this film are great. They're beautifully lit. They have great sound design. They're weighty and powerful and fast, but not too fast, as I stated prior. It's awesome. Singular point. There you go. C tier. It's okay. I found it relatively boring of a show. It didn't engage me that much. The story aspects, some of it were cool. Some ideas were cool, like the 4D Godzilla. I don't mind that stuff. It's just it wasn't executed the best, and I didn't find it all that engaging all the time. Which, keep in mind, this is a 12-episode show, so it is this thing is as long as this entire trilogy. Sitting down and watching this TV show is as long as watching this all in one sitting. If you want to like fully digest a TV show in one sitting, I don't recommend doing that, but you know, my point still stands, right? It's not my cup of tea. I will rewatch it, and you know, my opinions will most likely change, but for now it's going in C tier. And you know, even if I rewatch it, it might just get bumped up above Megalon or something, you know? I don't think it will change that much. Legacy of Monarch. This TV show is fire, man. This TV show is awesome. It is the best Godzilla TV show out there. The story this time actually carries it. There are like no really great fights in this film, so it's really carried by a story. And you know what? That's all right. You know, every film, TV show is different. Some are here to entertain you. Some are here to make you think. Some are about story. Some are about action. And guess what? The way I rank films personally is I combine all of those aspects together. Story and visuals are the two main ones, obviously, but then there's score, there's acting, adding up everything and trying to determine a fair assessment. And I think this succeeds in everything it sets out to achieve. Actors, the actors are really good in this. Like, actors and script are not the thing keeping this in A tier. Let's make that a fact. CGI isn't great, but it's also a TV show, so I naturally just give it more credit. Or I give it more sway or more, you know, uh, I judge it less. Yeah, sorry. Stumbling over my words. Also, sorry about my little Godzilla barking at people. Anyway, um, next one, Godzilla -1. I have not seen. My bad. So these two I have not seen. And then Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire is no, it's not. It's probably I was stating prior I love Kong's character arc to the Defender of Humanity. That's a really unique idea for a monster movie, having the monster be the central character. And I don't mean like King Kong being the most important character in the original King Kong. Like, no. Kong is the main character, especially in this film. There's even less humans, there's even more action, and the action is getting a bit too fast, but I think they're also going to tone it down a little bit after this movie, or that's what I'm hoping for, just because it's not bad, not even in the slightest, just a bit too much. And you can check out my previous review for my full opinions on it, but I love the character arc in this. I think all the designs are cool. I think Scar King is the second best antagonist in the Monsterverse, which actually makes him one of the unironically best villains in Godzilla. He's just evil, and I love it. Shimu has a pretty great presence about her, and everything about the film is pretty good. The story, it's you can tell they're experimenting because they made Kong the main character, and it's not as good as you wish it was, but it is quite fun. And it also moves you relatively quickly from action set piece to action set piece, or visually stunning moment from visually stunning moment. And that can't be overlooked. It's a fun movie. Actually, you know what? I talked to myself. There you go. It's better. There you go. It's the top of B tier. All right. That is my Godzilla tier list, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. And to be honest, I actually want to hear what you guys have to say, because I have some interesting opinions. I know that from I've been in the community a while. I've been in the community a long time. It's not a while at this point. But I've noticed what I've said is generally different from what people say, with a few obvious exceptions, like, wow, the best movie is Godzilla 1954. Who could have guessed? But apart from that, I feel like I have a good mixture of what the people agree with and some even sleeper picks in there. Anyway, yeah, I had a fun time doing this. Maybe I actually like doing more Godzilla content, and if you guys want to see more of that in the future, obviously drop it in the comment below and like the video if you like the content. And I've also thought about starting a like goal, which, something interesting for like videos and stuff like that. I would like to know if you guys think that's a good idea or not. Anywho, that's more for community stuff, which you get when you subscribe. Anyway, I'm gonna skedaddle. Have a great day, folks, because I sure am, because I got to talk about one of my favorite franchises today. See ya!